morning and welcome you as we've gathered together to honor Lily. Been asked to speak a few words of introduction. Not that Lily would need that. We all know how she certainly was. Lily used to come and attended many funerals with her daughters, and she would sit. Somebody's in her seat right back there in the corner, in that chair, I see. And you would never be shocked by anything that she might say and wait to come out of her mouth. I guess you knew that's why you're here, because you knew that too. So I want to take you back into the 1940s for just a minute and think about a family of survivors, the Okamotos. They spent time in California, were raising a family, and at the outbreak of World War II, ended up in an internment camp. Lily's mom found her pregnant, self-pregnant, with her youngest child, Lily, Hitomo. So I couldn't help but notice what you placed. And I don't know who got a chance to read this, but think about that family back in so many years ago before they came and got a chance to be part of the Seabrook experience. So in spite of the recent piece of literature that's been placed out there, many families had wonderful experiences by coming to Seabrook for a new beginning, especially Japanese Americans after World War II. Part of my upbringing was to hear about that Seabrook experience. So here's the Okamoto family. Mrs. Okamoto and her husband find themselves expecting their 10th child in less than desirable circumstances. They deliver a daughter and they name her Hitomo, meaning my joy. Emotional spectrum, we know that from Lily. She could be excited, hyper, joyful, sarcastic at times. She had personal integrity. She had personality plus. How else could you be if you're the youngest of 10 kids? She specialized in relationships. How she and her beloved husband, John or Jack, raised their 3 daughters. Stop. Yes. Relationships. Focusing on the things that are most important in life, which is why we all gathered here. So I want to, again, thank you for being with us. There will be a chance in just a little bit for those of you who wish you would like to share a story or two about Lily. So you may prepare yourselves for that. And if you feel that this is a situation that's not so comfortable for you, you are welcome to save that story if it's upon more informality and mixed company later, because the family will be gathering at the VFW on Manheim Avenue for a time of fellowship immediately following your time here today. So keep that in mind and give yourselves a chance to think. So we're going to begin the service with a few different sets of personal remarks, and we're going to use Danielle, or as her sisters call her, Daniele, come forward and be our guinea pig.
Thank you all for coming. My mom was the strongest woman I've ever known. She gave birth to 3 children, raised them to the best of her ability. She made me believe in myself. She always believed in her nationality. She wanted us to know our traditions, to be proud, and I am proud. I learned how to dance. I learned how to make food through everything. She, through everything that she's gone through, being born in an internment camp, that was a prison. were guards in the area pointing guns because they thought they were the enemy. But they didn't see it as that. They saw it as they were a family and they stayed together. My mother was approximately 2 years old when she moved to Seabrook because Mr. Seabrook was the only one who was offering homes and a job for my grandparents and my aunts and uncles who were old enough to work. Growing up in Seabrook, it was a true melting pot of different races, creeds. Didn't matter if you were black, white, purple, green, or orange. She cared about everyone. She opened up her door. She was like, she wanted you to be humble. She always honored what she believed in. If you needed a place to crash, she opened up her door. You wanted to learn something, she'd teach you. She'd try. The best thing that she did for us was to be the best mom. She came to every softball game, every field game, every basketball game. When I did drama in high school, she came to the plays, even though I didn't act, I did the props. She came because she wanted to honor what I did. She was team grandma when me and my sisters coached for 10 years in Birchton. All the kids said grandma, even though she wasn't their grandmother. She absolutely adored every single child. You came, she gave you a hug. She said, do the best that you can. If you fall, you pick yourself up. You call it a day. Her strengths were one of the best things I've ever seen. Being diagnosed with breast cancer, having a stroke, waiting to heal from the stroke, then going through the treatments. Then she's had another stroke. She picked herself up, did the best that she could. When I went through my cancer treatments, she was there to the best of her ability. When both of the sisters, if they ever got sick, they were there. He was there. Her ladies. Came to our house as a stranger the first time. You knocked. After that, your family walked through the door. She did everything possible you needed. You need groceries, come shopping in our house. We will go grocery shopping for you. You need a place, we'll figure out a bed, we'll figure out a room, figure out the work. It didn't matter who you were, but she needed you to see. Her legacy will live on through me and my sisters and my family, my cousins, their children. There's quite a few thank yous. Kenny Broadhead for making us laugh through all this. He knew what we were going through. He made us laugh. Stay out of hospice through the ups and downs. He helped her die with dignity. All the pallbearers here. Thank you for standing up for her today. She truly loved you all. Mac and Tracy, thank you for the love, the support, always bringing food, feeding an army. You know, there was only 2 of us in the house. Well, if you just checked in, you just pop up, you know, you need something. But Matt, thank you for fixing my bathroom. Couldn't get the doors off, but you did within 30 seconds. Sonia, thank you for writing letters every month. Towards the end, she could not read, so I read them to her. I appreciate that. She's actually smiled. She did not smile for the last 3 months, but every time I read to her, she smiled. So I told her who it was from, and she lit the sky. Now for the pilot plan, Anastasia, thank you for cutting her hair into my home. So I didn't have to take her out because it was a hassle to get her out the door. Because being in a wheelchair, it's hard to get out. She appreciated every time you came to cut her hair. She lit up the sky. She knew she didn't like long hair. She liked her short. She didn't like looking like Cal Brady. Helena, thank you for just stopping by and bringing food, just checking in, giving us the biggest hugs that we needed. Jennifer, known as Papa, thank you for always making the beautiful pasta salad. She loved it. She did not want to share. She always ate it. She never saved any for us. That was the best. And last but not least, thank you for being the other caretaker while I was at work, or if I just needed a moment of time to myself. I truly appreciate every single thing you have done. Not only did you help her die with dignity, you let her be at home, so keep her happy. Thank you.
Heartfelt. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to ask Miss Tracy. Would you come forward, please? There you have it. Thank you for that.
Good job. So some of my comments are a repeat of what Kenny and Danielle said, but I've decided I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. So Auntie Tommy's life started during times of historical significance. The Okamotos lived in Terminal Island, California. It was a fishing community in Southern California. Her father was a commercial fisherman, tuna fisherman, and he owned large fishing boats. And her mother worked at the cannery that was located right at the docks. Her parents were Issei, first generation Japanese that came to America. But after Pearl Harbor in World War II, over 100,000 Japanese Americans were forced into internment camps. The Okamoto family was incarcerated at the Manzanar internment camp in Manzanar, California in early 1942. Their family was one of the first ones to be incarcerated because her father was a fisherman and they lived on the West Coast. Auntie Tommy was born on August 23rd, 1944 in camp during her family's incarceration as the youngest of 10 children to Seitato and Otama Okamoto. And I can't imagine the circumstances and experience for Mama delivering and caring for a newborn in the internment camp setting. When the war ended, the Okamotos didn't know where they were going to go or what they were going to do. There was nothing left in Terminal Island as their boats and their business were confiscated, and they had no home to return to. The Okamotos, along with other Japanese Americans, moved to Seabrook, New Jersey in 1945 for a new life at Seabrook Farms. CF Seabrook offered housing and employment opportunities for displaced persons at Seabrook Farms. These included the Japanese Americans that were being released from internment camps, German POWs, Estonians and Latvians fleeing the conflicts in Europe, people from the Caribbean and Appalachia looking for work. About 2,700 Japanese Americans relocated to Seabrook, and it was a true melting pot, like Danielle said, and the Japanese Americans were grateful for this new start. My mom always said that Mama's first job at Seabrook was cleaning the barracks, and she would take my mom, Uncle Tack, and Auntie Tommy with her to her job all day. Auntie Tommy, who was a baby, she wouldn't have had much of a recollection, I don't think, of camp and her early Seabrook life, but she was very close to her mom and close to her whole life. The Okamotos have always been a close family. No matter where the brothers and sisters lived across the United States or in Europe or Japan, they always came back to Seabrook to visit their parents and siblings. When they visited, there was always a lot of talking and fun, coffee drinking and smoking, and they always kept in touch. And now our cousin generation and the second cousin generation have friendships, even though we live far away and on opposite ends of the coast. They've always stayed close. Uncle Tack and the cousins have traveled here today to represent the Okamoto siblings and to honor their sister. And I know the Archetto girls appreciate the support and love. When I was young, I spent a lot of time with Auntie Hitomo and Uncle Danny, and I would spend the night at their place a lot. And it was always a lot of fun, and for sure, it was very different than spending the weekend with Auntie Sheena and Uncle Moss. I remember Uncle Danny putting me in a cart when I had to be a teenager and pushing me around really fast in the grocery store. And I would say, well, this is really different than my family shopping. But Auntie Hitomo was a great cook, and her fried chicken was the very best. Jody said when she spent the time with the Archettos, you could always guarantee there was going to be pizza and subs. And Auntie Hitomo was always close to Mama, and my mom always appreciated that your mom helped take care of Mama. But what came to me when I reflected a lot about Auntie Hitomo and the Archettos was how the Archettos were a great team, and you supported each other. You were a great team in sports, with Uncle Danny coaching the girls' softball teams and making all the girls feel special, and Auntie Hitomo being a supportive teen mom. Then as adults, these three girls revived the defunct recreational softball league at Bridgeton, and they started coaching. Auntie Hitomo was on the sideline as the team mom, grandmom, and selling concessions. They always worked together to support each other. They were like the Musketeers, one for all and all for one. They were a superstar bowling team in weekly leagues and traveling for tournaments and supporting each other. Auntie Hitomo was a great bowler. I didn't get that locomotive bowling gene. When Uncle Danny passed away at a young age, they all banded together to support each other. Uncle Danny's passing was a great loss to them all. And I know Danielle's told me, her mom said at that time, it's us, the three of you against the world. As Auntie Hitomo has had her health challenges in later life, the girls supported her and took beautiful care of her. They were teen mommy. Auntie Hitomo had multiple strokes, falls, hip fractures, repairs, breast cancer, infections, multiple hospitalizations. The girls had full-time jobs, a home that was not accessible inside or out. And Auntie Hitomo had severe mobility impairments. Not many families would have been able to take care or choose to take care of their loved one at home in that condition, especially with the home situation and their work obligations. They hired their neighbor Ann, who assisted them and set up a schedule and a routine to take care of their mom at home. And I know Ann's not here, but if you get a chance to meet her at the luncheon, kudos to Ann for all she did. But it's not just what they did for Auntie Hitomo on a daily basis for care. It's how they cared for her and what they did to make her love her life fun and worth living. With Auntie Hitomo in a wheelchair and not able to walk, the past couple of years, they took her on road trips. They went to North Carolina. They went to Rhode Island. They went to Vermont. You went under Ocean City weekly vacations. You take her to the board. She just went to the boardwalk this summer for their daily trips. I'm really impressed. It's really something that did all that. But to me, as important as the care they provided was the way they provided the care. She never felt like a burden. She could feel your love, encouragement, and support. And I think your extraordinary love and care extended her life. Most Japanese people are not openly affectionate and loving, but the Archettos were different. They openly loved with actions and words, and they're great huggers. And sometimes they would be at the pool at my mom and dad's house, and they would hug each other, and my dad would say, hey, no making love in the pool. There is a saying that says, it is an honor to care for those that once took care of you. You have honored your mom with the beautiful way that you took care of her. And Mac and I have told you on and on that we admire you for all you did, and I know your mom appreciated it. To Auntie Hitomo, you raised beautiful, caring daughters. Job well done. Stephanie is the oldest. I know you had a special relationship with your mom and dad, especially with a lot of great memories with the sporting. Danielle is one of the most upbeat, positive people I know. It didn't matter what difficulty they faced with your mom, Danielle would be like, no big deal, we'll get through this. And she's strong. I would watch her carry Auntie Hitomo down in the wheelchair, and I was like, wow, that is really something. Jamie's the baby of the family, but there's no one tougher and more compassionate. She was committed to keeping her mom at home, making the necessary arrangements to provide the best and most compassionate care. Auntie Hitomo created this wonderful team. And at the end, this team took beautiful care of her. That's all. So Auntie Tommy, I envision her now, moving easily, walking without pain, without any limitations. She's reunited with her parents and her siblings. But the most important and the happiest reunion is being reunited with Uncle Danny, the love of her life. What a special moment and reunion that had to be. To a life well lived. May you rest.
Tanya? Little is going to come next and offer some comments herself. So much for traveling all this way.
Hello. My name is Sonia Okamoto. Auntie Hitomo is my aunt from my father's side. My father was one of 10 siblings. He was 5th born, and Auntie Hitomo was 10th born. Growing up, my sister and I lived in Japan and only saw the Jersey families during summer break every other year. So we didn't see the Jersey folks often, but I have fond memories of our big crab fest feast at either Uncle Keel's place or Auntie Idaho's place. They were fun times for me because it was a huge change of scenery. Cornfields everywhere, instead of city lights that we're used to. I remember on one of the visits to Jersey, Auntie Hitomo took us shopping in her truck, and we got to ride in her truck. For a young girl from a crowded Tokyo City, this was exciting and so much fun. Was it legal? I don't know. It certainly wasn't in Japan. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed that ride on the truck bed. My mom also spoke highly of Auntie Hitomo, telling me how she took care of mom when my mom was hospitalized during one of her visits here. So while she was hospitalized, I was less than a year old and was still being breastfed. And Hitomo would go visit my mom at the hospital and collect the breast milk and then bring it back to mama's house to feed me. Okay, so to this day, mom talks about me talking about Auntie Hitomo and how much she appreciated Auntie Hitomo for doing that, and what a kind-hearted person she was. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, when my daughter and I visited Auntie Hitomo. It was post-COVID, and Auntie Hitomo was in a rehab facility, and we weren't allowed to go inside. So what we did was went around to the outside window of her room, and then we called each other. I called them. Yeah, and she hadn't seen me or my daughter for a long time, so she didn't recognize me. So I had to explain to her that I'm Tamami's daughter, and this is my daughter. And then that's when she had like a aha light bulb moment. And then, but the first thing she said wasn't, "Hi, how are you?" She pointed at my daughter and said, "You're taller than her." And that was the first thing that she said, right? And that certainly lightened the moment, you know, of the situation. And then my daughter got a kick out of it because, you know, her personal quest at the time was to be taller than me. The last time we spoke to Auntie Hitomo was earlier this November. It was a video call with the help of Danielle and Jeannie. Danielle and Jeannie had to tell her again who I was, right? And then then she comes closer to the video screen, right? And then she said, "You have gray hair. You look old." So leave it to Auntie Hitomo to speak her mind. But that's what I appreciated about the Okamoto family. They speak their minds. That puts hair on your chest. My time with Auntie Hitomo were near him, right? And each visit that we came out here, it was a different stage in my life, right, different times, right? But those visits were memorable, and what I learned about Aunt Tommy without her realizing it is, sometimes you've got to forego the prim and proper and have some fun. The Poppers in our family, of the Poppers in our family, she was a free spirit. My memories of her will always bring a smile to my face.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So this is the opportunity, if anyone has a personal story that they would like to share, not that you want to follow those two, but is there anyone, and I would ask for the sake of those who have joined us via Zoom, if you do have something you'd like to share, that I would welcome you to come forward and to use the microphone so you would be able to be heard both here and there. Is there anyone? And that's fine. There'll be opportunity in the time following, as I had shared earlier. So I envision your mom, who I didn't call Auntie Tony, dancing Motown music, heeding the warning from your dad that you're burning daylight. Let's get going. Dancing the jitterbug, which he taught all three of you to eat. But also I'm hearkening back to, excuse me, the time when they were also married. That union, I love seeing the pictures from the Deerfield Presbyterian Church. So I know that there was a degree of faith that existed. There had to be for a family that traveled from California, displaced as they were, from their economic conditions, to come to Seabrook for that new start that we heard so much about. That family that added so much personality and class, I would add, to this area. So many friendships that were created. I harken back to the day in 1945 when the Hitomo family got off the train and came to Seabrook. And one of my first friends of my dad's was your Uncle Keo, the consummate barber in the village, and quite a personality himself. So the Okamotos always had personality. And my dad cherished that lifelong friendship with both Keo and her Aunt Jean, whose brother John became one of my dad's better friends. And later in the generations, my friendship through Aurelia Drive with their son, John. So I'm grateful for those relationships. So that Hitomi stands for joy, for relationships. Think about what the Okamoto family, all the way through their youngest daughter, actually created. So through the marriage with your dad, yes, I know it was not easy. We lamented about that the last couple of weeks about losing your dad at such a young age. It's hard to believe I'm so much older now than he was when he passed. But that's what happens with time. You know, it goes by. But the question is, from today forward, you know, how do you go on and what do you do about what you have experienced? Well, I think you need to look no further than the faces that have gathered here to support you to know how important it is to go on. How many people here appreciate what you did to take care of your mom in these last days, right? What you did last days, months, and years for that matter. Yes, you had help, you had advice, you had support, but you did it. So when she left this world that Sunday afternoon in the snowstorm, cold as could be, trying to get up and down the steps, She left here with your love, the one thing that we truly believe in that endures forever. So many years ago, when your parents were married at Deerfield Presbyterian Church, one of the things they did in their wedding vows was to profess their love for one another. Yes? And your mom carried that love forward, even though your dad could be exasperated with your mom, as you shared with me, and your mom could certainly be exasperated with your dad at times. But they loved each other. And they showed the way into the world for three wonderful, supportive, and caring daughters. And that is the best thing that I think anyone can do, is to be a caregiver in the ways that you're able to share yourselves and to know that someone is loved. Isn't that what we really all want? So when your parents were married so many years ago, they professed their love and they did it in a house of worship. So to conclude the service, besides a piece of favorite music that we're going to hear at the very end, I'd like to also read something, Danielle, that you said you hoped that I would share. So this is the prayer of footprints. So I think so many times that we feel alone and we need other people in our lives and those who love us. This is a prayer that can easily be reflected upon when you examine your own spirituality. And many of you are familiar with it. One night I dreamed a dream. I was walking along the beach with my Lord. Across the sky, dark flashes and different scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed two sets of footprints in the sand. A favorite place of Tony's was the beach. Notice on your little card, as well as the book that you signed. One set of those footprints belonged to me, and one to my Lord. After the last scene of my life flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand, and I noticed that many times along the path of my life, especially at the very lowest times and saddest times, there was only one set of footprints. It troubled me, so I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said once I decided to follow you, you would walk all the way with me. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troubling times of my life, there was only one set of footprints, and I don't understand why. When I needed you the most, why would you leave me? He whispered, my precious child, I love you and I will never leave you, never ever during your trials and testings. When you saw only one set of footprints, it is then that I carried you. So it hastened to add that you carried your mother, much in the way that God showed his love and shows his love to most of us. So you ushered her from this world to the next, regardless of what your belief might be that next world is. And you did it with grace, you did it with dignity, and you did it with love. And the most important part of that is not necessarily what it did for the three of you, but your mom knew that. And that's the feeling that she had when she took her last breath. So here's to love, the one thing that never dies and is always with us. So we lose the people that we care about. It's the pecking order. Sometimes we're not lucky to have that happen. Our grandparents, parents, and then spouses die. We're not always lucky to have those things occur in the pecking order. What we are lucky is to form relationships. The youngest of 10 children. And she was a spark, no doubt. That Lily. Never had to worry about what she was thinking, as long as she could express herself. So I want to say thank you to all of you. I want to say thanks. In just a moment, I'm going to call forward those who will be acting as honorary pallbearers. Please remember to get together at the VFW, now located on Manheim Avenue. The family will be hosting a luncheon there. Please gather with them to share some additional memories and thoughts. But celebrate. Take those things about your Aunt Hitomi, Lily, those things that you love the most, take them and use them to your advantage and incorporate them into your own lives so that you can make the world a better place, as she always tried to do. So, as we finish, for a Motown fan, somebody who liked the oldies, please listen to the music as we excuse you with a chance to pay your final respects. Please listen to the Righteous Brothers as they provide us with a timeless tune, Unchained Melody. So we do have those that are going to serve in an honorary capacity as pallbearers, and I'd like you to stand up and be recognized if you would, because if we had a procession to the cemetery, you would be leading us on our way to the grave site. Mac McCormick, Carl Herman, Max Swistino, Zach Sloboda, Leroy Henry, and Jason Rosinito would step forward, please. Thank you, gentlemen.